What's up everybody, Tech Chucker here, and today we're going to take a look at the Marvel Legends Space Venom wave, Miles Morales. Now this figure, well, let's back up. This character I don't know a whole lot about. I haven't read any of the comics about this guy, so I don't have any knowledge about that. Fill me in the comments below a little bit about this guy if you've got the time and you feel like it. We're going to talk about the actual figure, whether or not this figure is decent or not. We're going to find that there are some of the same issues that the Peter Parker Spider-Man has because it's the exact same figure. All right, let's crack this thing open and take a closer look. Alrighty, so articulation-wise, you can see I've got Miles Morales dabbing here, looking all cool. But basically, he's got almost all the same issues that the Peter Parker figure, because it's the same figure, just painted differently. But let's go through it anyway. So he's got a ball peg with a hinge joint in the neck, and he can look up pretty much all the way, which is great. He can look all the way down, get that chin into the chest. He can look both side to side with no issues, and there's very little, if any, tilt within that head. Moving into the shoulders, he's got a ball hinge, which allows him to get that shoulder just above the shoulder. He can get full rotation, no butterfly joint, but he's got a bicep swivel and double jointed elbows, which work really, really good. He's got a peg joint and a hinge joint in those wrists, and those work really, really well. Moving into the torso, he's got a hinge joint, which allows him to get a really good ab crunch. Looks a little funky. He is able to do this much back arch, which is pretty good. And then he's got a full rotation capability in that waist. Moving into the T-jointed hip joints, which are terrible for a Spider-Man figure. How many times do I got to say this, Hasbro? Fix them. He's got to be able to do more of the splits. And then he's able to kick forward only this much, which for a Spider-Man figure, I expect him to be able to get that up above his waist. It should be above. The backwards kick is also quite limited. He's got to be able to do a little more. The upper thigh cut works fine, no issues with that. He's got double jointed knees, which work very, very well. No problems there. He does have an upper shin cut, which I hate. It's getting looser and looser by the day on mine. The ankle, he can get his foot back on a hinge and forward. Again, that forward pivot on that ankle is terrible. And then he does have an ankle rocker, which works pretty well. So the overall issues are really in the hips. He just doesn't have the range of motion that I expect, especially for any kind of Spider-Man figure. Because we've seen this body mold also with Peter Parker Spider-Man, they have the exact same issues. So upper body, the articulation's pretty good. Lower body, there's a lot of issues that Hasbro needs to fix. Alrighty, so there's not a whole lot new to talk about with the sculpt work on this figure. It's basically all the same, so we'll talk mostly paint. The paint is, again, it's got about the same issues as the Peter Parker. The eyes, I like the eyes. They're a little bit messy. You can see some of the red poking through. It's not the cleanest paint job. The lines are relatively clean. So, you know, Hasbro did a good enough job with it. There's no shading on the figure. It's all black, and then we've got the red lines, and you can see there's some paint missing throughout some of the actual line work. But the logo is clean enough, and the line work is clean enough. There's not much, I mean, there's no paint, you know, from the torso down, really, which, you know, could have been nice. I like these feet. They're sculpted well. They're good for standing. The fingers are painted clean enough. You can see there's a splotch on that thumb. So overall, you know, the sculpt is fine because it's the same sculpt that we've now been seeing. It's a good height, I think. Some people want him taller, as I've said before in the Peter Parker review. But overall, you know, the sculpt is fine for me. The paint certainly could be a little bit better. If nothing else, if they could have cleaned it up a little, then that would have made this figure really pop. We get the same set of accessories as we got with the Peter Parker Spider-Man. We get a couple of sets of extra hands with this figure, and let's go through the different options that we've got. We get a fisted hand, which is painted fairly well. It's about the same quality as the other hands, or the rest of the body. And then we get this spider wall crawling hand, kind of splayed open with the fingers, which is nice. A little bit messy with the paint, but it's okay. And then we get his thwipping hands, and we get a full set of each, which is really nice because we don't always get that when we get alternate hands. So I'm happy with the sets of hands that we get. And then we get an unmasked Miles Morales head. And this one I like a fair amount. He looks like he's kind of like in a weird zone, like he's hypnotized or something with those eyes. They probably could have done a better job. There's no real shading in the hair, but the sculpt I think is fairly nice. I like it. I kind of like it a little bit better than the Peter Parker alternate head or unmasked head. I don't know why. But let's put this right on here, peg them in there. And again, I think that neck might be just a little bit too long, but it's not nearly as noticeable with the Miles figure. Not sure why that is. Maybe his chin goes down a little bit lower, or maybe the head just sits on it a little bit lower. I'm not sure. But I like this unmasked head considerably more. So in that respect, the accessories for this Miles Morales figure are a little bit nicer. Overall, I would say I think I might like this figure more than the Peter Parker. Maybe because I already have 1 or 2 or 3 Spider-Man figures as it is, and I don't have any Miles Morales figures. I don't know. Overall, I still think it's a good buy. I think I paid about $9-10 for him. He's probably worth 15. So go out there, get him. As far as I know, it's the only Miles Morales figure out there, especially with Marvel or with the Legends wave line. So go get him. I hope this video was helpful. I hope if it was, that you'll go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates on new uploads that I put out. And until next time, I will see you later.
Texture's Brain Blast.